This episode is brought to you by SafeJet, the operators of the anti-dump mechanism that you see all other DeFi projects copying. SafeJet is the safest coin in the crypto game, protecting you from your whales and chart manipulators. That way your investment is still there in the morning. Free travel, cash giveaways, an experienced and doxed team also lets you lock, fly, and land with SafeJet. For more information, visit safejet.io, link in the description below.
I started looking at the technology probably around like 2000, 2011, and it was through a Gizmodo article. They were talking about how it was used on the black market. Well, at the time, I was working for the U.S. government. I had a security clearance at the time, so I didn't want to anything.
Right.
As like many of us who've been in the space, realize that articles like that are FUD and distracts us and blinds us from the opportunity that crypto presents for us. Back in 2016, I came across Ethereum, and then as I went down that hole, I discovered Veritaseum. I saw what the technology could do, and I dove in deep.
If you want to see more videos and interviews like this from influential people in tech, finance, and sports, subscribe to the channel and make sure you hit the bell to be alerted. And go a step further and join the YouTube and membership area for early releases of videos like this. I'm out of here. It's your boy Crypto Blood, and welcome to another Kicking It session. Today I've got a special guest that I found out in New York City. We were at a Mint Black event. He was hype. He was in there spreading the good gospel of cryptocurrency. We got Dr. Jamar Montgomery, the crypto politician.
Man, I'm blessed and winning. What about yourself, bro?
Good, bro. Good. We had a great conversation out in New York. How did you feel about, before we get into like the nitty gritty and about yourself and everything, tell us how you felt about New York NFT NYC. A lot of people had, it was kind of a polarizing opinion about that whole week.
Well, you know, man, I was there to, once again, first, man, thank you for having me on your show, bro. It's so great to finally meet you in person, finally be on your show. But I enjoyed myself, dude. I was there supporting one of my friends, one of my colleagues, who's a fellow lawyer, and he was actually speaking at NFT NYC. And
nice.
The funny thing is he was on the panel that Reggie Middleton was talking about, and that Ask Me Anything.
Oh, really? Oh, yes. You caught? Okay.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Yes. That's crazy.
And the thing is I was trying to make it to that session, but I couldn't find where it was at. So there was a lot of disorganization that was there within the conference, the official conference. But I will say that being part of like the Black Act community, getting tapped in with them, all the side events like provided so much value, so much network, so much connections, man, that I enjoyed myself. I really enjoyed myself.
I echo the same. You know, I didn't even make it to the actual events because I got there Wednesday. It was a last minute decision to come out there. But I was glad I did because, as you stated, like, I'm just so excited to see how many black, brown, whatever you want to call us, melanated people in the blockchain industry. You know, it kind of, for me, I don't know if you were out in Austin.
Yeah, I was.
Okay, you were out there too.
I brought my mama with me.
Oh, that's what's up. I was able to meet a lot of people that look like us out there as well. So it's very exciting to see that type of movement within the blockchain community. And I know as a politician, that's one thing that you're trying to bring awareness to in the community, right? Blockchain technology and stuff. We'll get to the pillars of your campaign and who you are. You guys see politician is in his name. So clearly he's about that life. I want to definitely talk to you about that. I couldn't find on your site whether you were running as a Republican, Democrat, Independent. So we can get into that. But tell us about who Dr. Jamar Montgomery is. Do you really have a PhD?
I have a Juris Doctor.
So, a Juris, a JD. Okay.
A JD.
Okay.
I treated my Juris Doctor. I actually treated like a research thesis. So I'm a published expert in militarized police and protest.
Oh, wow. This is interesting. So I definitely want to kind of know why you went down that road. Was it prior to a lot of the things we saw with the highlighting of police brutality? Did that, was that an inspiration for you to go down that route, or kind of give us some background there?
So I've been in social justice work since 2010.
Okay.
I was a member of the NAACP, the Ventura County NAACP in California.
Okay.
And my mentor, I was working as an engineer. That's the cool part about it. I was working as an engineer at first, and I was moonlighting at nighttime, after work, doing civil rights and EEOC, Equal Employment Opportunity work.
Mm-hmm.
He appointed me as chair of legal redress and really taught me how to utilize the law. And he put in my ear about going to law school. So I was an engineer, and I shifted careers, and I went to law school. And in 2015, when Mike Brown was killed,
Mm-hmm.
I had a friend that was there in Ferguson during the protests, and she was telling me about her experience that she had there. And I was taking a policy analysis and legislative drafting course, and I was like, "Yep, this is what I'm gonna be. This is what I'm writing. This is what I'm writing on how the title of the paper is called Militarized Police and Unpermitted Protests, Implementing Policy That Civilizes the Police."
Wow.
Yes.
That's pretty deep.
I was inspired. I was inspired by the protests that occurred in Ferguson, Missouri. My friend, her experience that she had, and went on to present the paper at several national conferences and even won an award. So, yeah.
Interesting. So a little fun fact about me. I'm sure you're aware of the event that happened here in Detroit in the 90s, Malice Green. Are you familiar with that situation?
I'm not.
Okay, Malice Green was actually, I believe, the case before Rodney King police brutality event, but he ended up dying from this. So it was 4 cops that beat Malice Green in Detroit, and he was my cousin, and I literally had just seen him maybe 3 months prior to. I was a younger boy at that point, but his mother lived literally. We're cousins. He lived maybe 4 blocks down, and he definitely battled with substance abuse, but the guy had no weapon in his hand, nothing, and was brutally beat to death right there on the street in Detroit. So yeah, I'm familiar with that whole situation and how I'm affected by it directly, police brutality. So that's crazy, man. That's interesting. So kind of fast forward to when you got into crypto. How did that all happen? Like, how did you get the crypto bug?
I started looking at the technology probably around like 2010, 2011. But at the time, and it was through a Gizmodo article. And they were talking about how it was used on the black market. Well, at the time, I was working for the U.S. government. I had a security clearance at the time, so I didn't want to be anything. Right. And so, as like many of us who've been in the space, realize that articles like that are FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, right? And distracts us and blinds us from the opportunity that crypto presents for us. So, back in 2016, I came across Ethereum, and then as I went down that hole, I discovered Veritasium, and was looking at all of I saw what the technology could do, and I dove in all the way deep. I'm pretty sure that you can relate to this. Up 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, just reading the articles, reading up as much as you can, going through the whole My Ether wallet process.
Right. My Ether wallet. Wow. Okay. You OG. You okay.
Like, dude, like me and my partner created a coin in 2017 called AMEY, AMEY. So you go and look on I got the wallet to prove it that I've been in the space that long. You know what I'm saying? So people say, "Oh, I've been in the space this long," and I'd be like, "Go show me your wallet."
Right.
The transactions don't lie. So
exactly.
That's the beautiful part about the blockchain. So coming from having an engineering background, a technical background, and then having a legal background, and then understanding what the revolutionary technology that blockchain is, and how cryptocurrency is the financial layer of blockchain. It just got me very excited. Started a company in 2017 called Cryptonomics Wealth. Me and my partner folded it up in 2018. I focused on becoming a lawyer at that time and jumped back in it at around like late 2019.
Okay.
But I I was an educator in the space.
Mm-hmm.
So even in 2018 and 2019, talking to Southern University, um, talking to Southern University in Baton Rouge and Southern University in Shreveport about implementing a blockchain program to really start teaching on this. Um, we're a couple years behind, but now in 2022, we have a blockchain program at the university.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. That's what's
Yeah.
up. So I like to hear people who have been in the space for a while, because they usually have a different perspective on things. Not saying that they know more per se than, because the space is old enough now that if you got in 2018, I could consider you, if you put your head down, I could consider you an expert if you
Yeah.
got in 2017, 18, or like even 19 maybe. But it just, people who have been in it for a longer period of time usually they just have a different perspective on things. Not saying it's better or more right or whatever, but it's good to see that you've been around and have known about the technology for that long, because I think that it translates well into policy, into your political endeavors. So I definitely want to talk about that aspect with you. Here's your site. Go check it out, ladies and gentlemen. He's got everything spelled out, his platform, what he's running on. Again, I was looking through your site earlier and like, he doesn't really, I didn't see it. At least I was looking at it from my mobile phone. I'm like, I don't see any, like, if he's Republican, Democrat. So kind of, I'm assuming you did that on purpose.
I'm no party. I ran no party.
You ran no party.
Ran no
Interesting.
party.
And explain that perspective, that strategy to me.
Well, the thing is when you see how the parties are ran in the nation, and also particularly in Louisiana, people already have uh, an idea of you, or they prejudge you, I would say, based
Absolutely.
on what party that you are. And
Right.
so it's difficult. People put you in a box. Now, um, I ran no party because I'm usually about 5 to 10 years ahead of trends. And we're going to see a trend in the United States within the next few years of more independent and no party candidates winning, because people are tired of the two-party system and see that it really doesn't give you, it really just manufactures your choices.
I just got to cut you off real quick, because that is one characteristic of a person that was early in crypto. They usually are very forward looking, right? Futurists. They are like 4 or 5 years or even 10 years ahead of most people. So that's exactly what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Yep.
The thing is I was teaching political science at Southern University Shreveport, and I would taught my class like a seminar, and I was teaching my students. It's one thing I could teach you the Constitution, but really what we need is, how do we use the government to solve our problems? How do we use policy to solve our problems? What are the things that you're willing to show up at somebody's front door about? And the people who have the power to change your life are your politicians, are your elected officials. So instead of us having the right conversations, with our barbers and with our family and our friends, we're having the right conversations about the things that we're angry about, but we're having it with the wrong people.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we become more informed and more involved citizens? So I went from teaching political science to actually running for office. And a lot of people were like, well, why didn't you run for something, smaller? Well, the challenge is if you're going to have, running for office is going to be a headache. So it's a big headache regardless. So if you're going to have a big headache, you might as well have something that's going to have the maximum reward. And so I'm in the United States Senate, particularly for that reason. And also my platform is more national, is more focused nationally and globally with local solutions.
I went out to Wyoming maybe 2 years ago for the first national independent conference or something along those lines. It was great. It was great to see, because you said non-party, and I wasn't aware. I'm not really in the politics like that, but I try to stay abreast of things. I was unaware of how many parties there are within the independent non-party. It's like a whole world. You got Green Party, you got independent. So it was interesting seeing that, and just talking with various people and their ideas and everything. And I didn't know one thing about going independent. The game is so rigged against you because you need double the amount of votes or somehow. Can you go through that?
So
Versus if you ran Republican or ran Democrat, you only need X amount of votes. But if you run independent, you need so many more votes, right? To kind of explain that to me.
no worries. So what happens is most people only know Democrat and Republican, right? And so what happens is it's like dealing with Ethereum and Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin has more of the mind share, whereas Ethereum has more of the actual market share. So when you run as an independent candidate, you're running up against the two parties that have more mind share than anything. Yet they may not necessarily be the best candidates. And that's the problem that you run into. So because of you have the familiarity with Democrat and Republican, you as an independent, you don't have the resource, you don't necessarily have the connections of the political machine of the two established parties. You may not necessarily have the fundraising of the two established parties, and then you're fighting an uphill battle because people have to get to know you, and then it's forcing them to go against something that they've known for the entirety of their lives, and that's voting for either Democrat or Republican. So it's not necessarily that you need more votes. What it is that you need more votes in order to get into the primary, and it's much more difficult, much more challenging doing that as an independent candidate than it is being part of one of the established parties.
Yeah, it was an interesting and enlightening experience going out to Wyoming and really getting into that whole world aside from your Republican and Democrat, like you said. I'm fed up with the two party system. Even though I lean conservative,
That's
there are
fine.
things that I don't like, that they do. And there are more things that I don't like that the Democrats do, but that's another it's another conversation.
I'm a social justice warrior that is a Second Amendment advocate, right?
Yeah,
So where do I lie in those lines? And I think that the challenge for us is that um, if we allow ourselves to be pigeonholed into that, and particularly the way that things are in a lot of states, is that if you are registered as a Republican or registered as a Democrat, then you can only vote in those primaries. So one, being able to have open primaries is important, and then having ranked choice voting is important, because particularly in politics, it's not about your platform. It's really about how much money that you have. And if you can raise money, then you can make whatever platform that you have look good, sound good, and be appeasable.
right, right. So I'm looking at your platform here, the pillars that you're running on. You got, bigger, better business, educational excellence, social action, technology. I want to hone in on the technology aspect here. Kind of go over what your goals are here.
Okay, so what happens is right now, it all ties into Web 3. So we see the stronger privacy protections, right?
Hmm.
In Web 2, we have Google, Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, right? These major tech companies who have now become major data brokers and data sellers. So they have our data, have control of our data, and have processing control over our data. And most people they're saying that they're worried about Big Brother as the government, but what about corporate surveillance? What about being sold products that aren't necessarily good for you, and them having access to information, more information than you, than any other. So having stronger privacy protections, and in fact, really breaking up big data companies, utilizing the Sherman Antitrust Act to break up big data companies. Second, talking about blockchain technology, uh, we do not, the United States, we are very great at marketing all the good things that we say that we do, but do not live up to those promises. The promise is that we're the most advanced country in the world. The marketing is that we're the most advanced country in the world. However, China is beating us in
And
artificial
almost
intelligence.
every,
You get what
yeah,
I'm saying? So in that, how can we? Technology is how we leverage our labor, It's how we multiply our resources. It's how we make things more efficient and more productive. Yet we're not leading in these particular areas. And blockchain technology is the evolution of the internet. Everything runs on the internet. So it used to be, you would say, I have a internet business. Now you have a business, and if you aren't on the internet, then you aren't really running a true 21st century business.
Right.
So it's now I have a cryptocurrency or I have a blockchain business. But in about 7 years, it's not going to, if your business is not operating utilizing cryptocurrency or blockchain technology, then you really won't have a business.
Mm-hmm.
So that starts off with not creating the business. It starts off with education. If you build up the workforce and educate the workforce, then you can now have a strong industry. But we, as in the United States, do not make it a priority of making education a number one priority.
Yeah, I also would say we have a technocracy in the United States with, Amazon controlling just about all of our lives, Google controlling just about all of our lives, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Like they say, you have free speech and you can say what you want. But if everyone is on one of these platforms and you censor me, it's like a tree falling in the forest and no one's there. Did the tree really fall? No, it didn't, in my opinion.
Right.
So we definitely need Web3 to kind of give us back some of those rights that I think, need to extend to the technology space.
That's our fault. That's our
Right.
fault.
That's definitely our fault. Absolutely.
And the reason why it's our fault is because we continue to use these platforms. That's one.
Mm-hmm.
Two, we allowed for these platforms to. This is the challenge that we have with really understanding our government. You utilize Facebook as which is a private platform to as a public forum, but in all reality, it should be a public platform. It's an all public platform, the internet, and we've allowed various private entities to have an outsized influence, an outsized megaphone on whether or not somebody gets heard. The last part of dealing with my technology platform, the part about technology with my platform, is renewable energy. We have so many natural resources that we have not tapped, in terms of solar, in terms of wind, and particularly what I'm going to say is one of the most slept on opportunities is hydro. We have, particularly in Louisiana, we have the mighty Mississippi that we could be tapping for
Yep.
power, and we're not. Right, water is going to be one of is the most undervalued resource that we have right now.
Agreed.
And the utilization of water to create power is something that we need to take more seriously and make more investment in. Renewable energy is one of those things that, as we increase in computing power, as our data centers increase in size, we need to be very serious about how we're going to maintain sustainable energy that does not pollute our waters, that does not pollute our air, that does not pollute our ground, because those are all the things that we need in order to get our food. And if our food is poisoned, then our minds and our bodies are poisoned. And if that's poisoned, then we're dead.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. What's your take on Bitcoin and proof of work blockchains that use a lot of energy already, right? And we haven't even scaled that.
Well, when you look at it from the perspective of how much energy Bitcoin uses, look at the appliances that you utilize in your home, and how much energy those use. And what value does those appliances only provide value for you?
To you, right.
Mining Bitcoin and Ethereum, you're supporting a network, and that helps everybody. So particularly with proof of work blockchains, I think that there's going to need to be the shift like Ethereum is doing to proof
Right.
of stake, of creating something that is more sustainable in the sense of more people can now be involved and part of the system.
Mm-hmm.
It can be very costly to run a miner, right? Versus
Absolutely.
now just becoming a validator and becoming a node of a proof of stake network. So, I
Is
think
that the future to you? I mean, this is probably a layup question. and an obvious answer, but is the future of blockchain going to be POS, delegated proof of stake, some iteration or form of proof of stake versus proof of work?
Proof of stake and what's proof of stake and proof of identity.
Okay.
Proof of stake and proof of identity. I think those are the two main ones that are going to be. You're going to see proof of identity within the next 3 to 4 years.
Okay, for the audience, explain a little bit about proof of identity.
Okay, so proof of identity, what the main part that we've been operating in here in the blockchain world is in a trustless system, right? I don't have to trust you, I trust the code. Now, when we're now as we're implementing more systems and creating more value on these systems, we're going to want to have something that's tied to your particular identity. So whether or not I can prove that who you are, or I can prove who you are, I can prove that the transactions come directly from you, and now creating actual blockchain systems that will be accepted by our governments. You want to have something that's based upon voting, based upon government, yeah, you're going to see that. You're going to see proof of stake and proof of identity.
How can people get in touch with you? How can they help you? Can they donate to you? I know you got a IPFS website. We'll bring that up in a second, but kind of give people some information on how they can get in touch with you and how they can support your movement.
Absolutely. So I know the blockchain community, they utilize Twitter. So DOCMONTY FORUS, Doc Monty for us. Or if you put in the crypto politician in Twitter, you'll find me. On IG, I am Dr. DRJAMAR Montgomery. My website is Docmontgomery.eth.link. So that's one way that you can get in contact with me. You see my YouTube down. My YouTube is down there. Reach out to me on IG. Reach out to me on Twitter, and we can definitely make that happen. I'm looking for blockchain developers. Building a team right now. What it is 4 independent candidates. Blockchain and cryptocurrency are going to be one of the major issues of our time, including data privacy. For independent candidates, there are not necessarily great resources for fundraising in an FEC compliant way. So what me and my team are working on right now is building out the entire framework for how we utilize blockchain voting, how we utilize blockchain for fundraising.
Yeah, that was one of the topics that was brought up in Wyoming, was blockchain voting, and there was an app that we used to vote for. We did a trial voting session, and we used the blockchain, so that was interesting. I think that's one part that blockchain can truly disrupt the political realm immediately. We saw what issues we had with the last election, presidential election, that is. And I think a lot of those rules and laws are old and outdated. Why not just put it all on a ledger? To me, I got to start putting my tinfoil hat on though, because I'm like, it's so easy to implement. There's a reason why we're not, if you ask me. But yeah, how are you working on making that a reality? Can that be done at the state level first, or even lower? How do the laws work? Can you have blockchain voting at the municipality level, or does it have to be like at the state level then go lower?
Well, there's the Secretary of State is who controls elections, particularly in basically almost every state. I'm not too sure of a state that the Secretary of State does not control the elections, and control voting and elections. So the Secretary of State. So that would mainly have to happen on a state level.
Gotcha.
But that does not mean that you as a politician cannot have a direct connection, or even as a candidate cannot have a direct connection with your audience, with your electorate, utilizing blockchain voting and blockchain technology. Particularly, our politicians need to shift from being the brain to being more of the mouthpiece and the communicator for their constituency. It's much easier if I have an informed citizenry that can vote utilizing their phone on their what they want to happen in their community. Then all I have to now I become is a communicator and negotiator with with my other politicians, my other elected officials, who I have to get on board with whatever measure or policy that I want to pass.
Yeah. You guys go definitely check out and support my man Jamar, please. We need to support movements like this, gentlemen like this, because this is where the laws get made and passed and influences you on the day-to-day basis. So it's important that we support guys like Jamar. So definitely get out there. I'll leave a link in the description of this video with all his contact information, his Twitter, his website, and everything. So check it out. Thumbs up the video so we can get more awareness about brothers like Jamar. And it's your boy Crypto Blood, and that's another Kick in the Session. Again, like, share, and subscribe, and click that bell to receive more videos like this. We out of here. How?